In France, Easter is not only a religious celebration, it is a story. A story told through church bells that fly across the sky, through chocolate fish and hens, through long family lunches and the quiet arrival of spring. Easter in France is called Pâques, a word that comes from Latin pascal, which itself comes from Hebrew Pesach, meaning Passover. Already in the word itself, we see history, religion, and language intertwined like the branches of a spring tree. The French writer Victor Hugo once wrote, "Le printemps, c'est l'âme qui fleurit." And Easter in France feels exactly like that, the soul in bloom. Villagers wake up, bakeries fill with the smell of butter and chocolate, and church bells prepare for their great journey. To understand Easter in France, you have to imagine it not as a single day, but as a slow story that unfolds over several weeks, like spring itself arriving step by step. The story begins with Le Carême, Lent, the 40 days before Easter. In the past, this was a time of quiet and discipline. People did not eat eggs, butter, or rich foods. Kitchens were simpler, meals were lighter, and life moved more slowly. But while people were not eating eggs, the hens did not stop laying them, so the eggs were kept, saved, collected day after day. By the time Easter arrived, families had many eggs, and this is one of the reasons eggs became the great symbol of Easter. They represented the end of Lent, the return of abundance, and the return of celebration. Then comes Jeudi Saint, Holy Thursday. This is when one of the most poetic French traditions begins. On this day, the church bells ring for the last time, and then they fall silent. According to tradition, the bells leave France and fly all the way to Rome to be blessed. From this moment, a strange silence falls over towns and villages. No bells ring on Thursday night, none on Friday, none on Saturday. For centuries, the silence marked the time of mourning. Next comes Vendredi Saint, Good Friday, one of the most important religious days, especially in regions like Alsace, Moselle, and Corsica, where it is still a public holiday. In some towns, religious processions move slowly through streets. People walk together in silence, sometimes carrying candles, sometimes statues, sometimes wearing traditional clothing. These processions are not new. Some are hundreds of years old, and when you see them, it feels like watching history walk past you. After this comes Samedi Saint, Holy Saturday, a quiet day of waiting. In many homes, this is the day of preparation. Families prepare the lamb, bakers prepare cakes and breads, and children wait for the next morning because they know the bells are about to return. Then finally, Dimanche de Pâques, Easter Sunday. Early in the morning, the bells return from Rome, and as they fly over France, they drop chocolate eggs, chocolate fish, chocolate hens, and chocolate bells into gardens and parks. Children wake up and run outside to search for them, their baskets in their hands, their eyes scanning the grass like little treasure hunters. But the story does not end there, because in France, Easter continues the next day with Lundi de Pâques, Easter Monday, which is a public holiday. This is a day for long lunches, visits to family, countryside walks, and in some towns, festivals and communal meals. In the southwest of France, in a town called Au, people gather to cook a giant omelette made with thousands of eggs, a tradition that, according to legend, dates back to Napoleon Bonaparte. So Easter in France is not just one day. It is a journey from silence to sound, from winter to spring, from feast to fasting, from waiting to celebration. One of the most fascinating Easter traditions in France is the story of the flying bells. According to French folklore, The church bells stop ringing on Holy Thursday to mourn the death of Christ. The bells then fly to Rome to be blessed by the Pope. While they are away, France becomes silent. No bells ring, the country waits. Then on Easter Sunday morning, the bells return, flying back over fields, villages and cities, and as they pass, they drop chocolate eggs, chocolate fish, chocolate hens and chocolate bells into gardens for children to find. So in France, it is not the Easter bunny who brings chocolate, it is the bells, les cloches de Pâques. This tradition is especially strong in regions like Alsace and Lorraine, where Germanic and French traditions mix, creating a rich folklore landscape. France has deep Catholic roots, and many towns still celebrate Easter with religious processions, especially in the south of France. In places like Provence and Corsica, processions take place on Good Friday. People walk through the streets carrying statues of Christ, wearing traditional clothing, sometimes even barefoot, in silence. Some brotherhoods in Corsica have organized these processions for hundreds of years. The French writer Jeudi Saint wrote, Les vieilles coutumes sont les racines invisibles d'un peuple. Easter in France is exactly that, invisible roots, traditions that connect modern families to centuries of history. If Christmas in France smells like cinnamon and wine, Easter smells like butter and chocolate. The most traditional Easter meal in France is roast lamb, called l'agneau pascal. The lamb is a religious symbol representing sacrifice and renewal, but the most famous Easter food in France is chocolate. French chocolatiers create entire worlds out of chocolate at Easter. Chocolate bells, chocolate fish, poisson en chocolat, chocolate hens, poules, chocolate eggs, œufs, chocolate rabbits. In Alsace, there is also a special Easter cake called Lamala or Lamelle, a sponge cake shaped like a lamb and covered with powdered sugar. In Provence, people eat fougasse, sometimes flavored with orange blossom. On Easter Monday, many towns organize festivals and communal meals. The most famous is the giant omelette, tradition in the town of Au, where thousands of eggs are used to make one enormous omelette for the entire community. Eggs have been a symbol of Easter for centuries, long before chocolate eggs existed. During the Middle Ages, Christians were not allowed to eat eggs during Lent, so people kept the eggs and decorated them. On Easter, they gave the decorated eggs as gifts and ate them to celebrate the end of Lent. This is why eggs became the symbol of Easter. They represent new life, spring, and renewal. The French writer Alphonse Daudet wrote about spring in Provence. À Pâques la terre sent la vie nouvelle. Easter in France is quieter than Christmas, but in some ways it is more poetic. It is not only a religious celebration, but a seasonal one. It marks the end of winter, the return of light, and the beginning of warmer days. It is a celebration of life restarting. Church bells return, flowers bloom, families gather, chocolate appears in magical quantities, and for a moment, the world feels soft again. Les cloches de Pâques. C'est le printemps en France. Les fleurs commencent à ouvrir. Les enfants attendent le dimanche de Pâques. Jeudi, les cloches des églises partent à Rome. Vendredi et samedi, il n'y a pas de cloche. La France est silencieuse. Dimanche matin, les cloches reviennent de Rome. Elles volent dans le ciel. Elles apportent des œufs en chocolat. Les enfants vont dans le jardin. Ils cherchent les œufs, les poules et les poissons en chocolat. Ils remplissent leur panier. Ils sont très contents. Après, la famille mange ensemble. Ils mangent de l'agneau et du chocolat. C'est une belle journée de printemps. Easter in France is not just a holiday. It is a story made of bells, chocolate, history, religion, and family traditions that have existed for centuries. It is a celebration where folklore and faith meet, when literature and food meet, and where the past quietly walks beside the present. If you enjoy learning French through culture, history, traditions, and stories, subscribe to the channel, because here, language is not just grammar. Language is culture, history, food, stories, and people. Joyeuses Pâques et à bientôt!